Hey everybody, it's Charlie. Big news. They finally confirmed Happy Hogan because of this scene. So this is a scene between Nick Fury, Maria Hill, and Happy Hogan talking about the Iron Man part of the plot. Websites are also reporting that Pepper Potts is in the movie too, but no one has confirmed Robert Downey Jr. So I'll explain what's going on because this confirms some details that people have been talking about a little while ago. This sort of involve how they invoke Iron Man in Phase 4, what his legacy is in this movie, and what Peter's involvement in this is. There's a new round of that Spider-Man PS4 giveaway going on too. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave a comment on the video. So, first things first, Nick Fury, Maria Hill, and Happy Hogan all confirmed alive and well in Marvel Phase 4. This film is the first film in Marvel Phase 4. I was talking about it on Twitter the other day because there was a lot of confusion about whether or not this was a prequel to Infinity War because it's supposed to take place minutes after Avengers 4. Most likely scenario, if you're wondering where this actually takes place in the timeline, is that they do find a way to prevent the snap from happening, but it takes place after what's all happening here with them meeting in the park and all this stuff. So technically it still takes place after Avengers Infinity War in Avengers 4, but the amount of time that will pass between the beginning of Infinity War and the end of Avengers 4 won't look like that much time. Which is why, even though like a bunch of time passes between the end of Infinity War and the beginning of Avengers 4, Peter is still 17 years old, he's a junior in high school, so I'll remind everybody about the timeline when we start to get trailers for this, because they'll be like, how old is Peter? Like, where does this pick up? How is this not spoilery for Avengers 4? You may recognize the scene that they're having here, though, as being sort of a spiritual successor to this scene in Spider-Man Homecoming, where Happy has to be Iron Man's super tech luggage carrier. Like, please protect this luggage. We're moving to the new facility in upstate New York.
All right, wheels up in 8 minutes. We just got to load Tony's old Hulkbuster armor, prototype for Cap's new shield, and Thor's magic belt.
So the movie, Spider-Man Far From Home, is treating Tony Stark like Scrooge McDuck again, and everybody, all the villains, want to steal his lucky dime. So the MacGuffin itself is supposed to be a piece of Stark tech that's just very, very dangerous if it falls into the wrong hands. The beauty of Iron Man is that he just has this mystery box of tech that he creates when you're not looking at him. Every time you turn around, he has like some new special device. So they're just using him in that funny way during this movie. But it is very serious. It involves Spider-Man because he's on a class trip to London while this happens, so he's nearby. It involves Iron Man, so he feels like he has to get involved, and because it involves the Vulture and people that he's dealt with in the past. What a coincidence that the Vulture is helping Sinister Six characters steal Iron Man tech for a mysterious benefactor in a city where Spider-Man also just happens to be on a class trip. So the plot is sort of a spiritual successor to this heist scene from Spider-Man Homecoming. The Vulture was unsuccessful. Spider-Man was able to stop him because he was working by himself. The whole idea here is that the Vulture is working with a team of villains. See what they're doing there? So they together are successful. I'll talk more about Vulture in a second. But you know how they shoot some of the scenes in Spider-Man Homecoming to mirror big scenes during the Avengers films. So this is sort of like the Spider-Man version of that very first scene in the original Avengers movie where Nick Fury choppers into Project Pegasus because the Tesseract is going crazy and asks Coulson for a threat assessment.
How bad is it?
That's the problem, sir. We don't know.
So shit has just gone down in London involving Stark Tech. Happy is kind of like the one who brings the comedy to these scenes. So in this case, he's sort of like the low-grade Coulson of that Avengers scene, where Nick Fury and Maria Hill fly to London because shit has gone down involving Stark Tech that's very dangerous. Happy tells them what kind of tech was involved, what the danger is to the world if it gets into the wrong hands. I'm sure Nick Fury drops all kinds of F-bombs that they'll take out of the film. How could you let this happen, Happy? So you have to imagine that Happy now got that job promotion that he was bucking for during Spider-Man Homecoming. Look, kid, I really needed this job. Like, he went from just being Iron Man's driver to sort of managing a lot of his legacy tech and just moving that around and making sure that it was all safe. The reason why Pepper Potts is probably in the film is sort of a stand-in for Tony during the Stark Tech scenes, because remember, she's the CEO of Stark Tech, so Happy probably has to call her and tell her that something was stolen. She tells him to get his ass in gear and go fix it. So I'm just expecting her to have about the same amount of screen time as she did during Spider-Man Homecoming, like very, very brief scenes. The reason why I don't think that they've had any Tony Stark in here should be pretty obvious. we still have Avengers 4. We don't know exactly how it's going to go down. There have been set reports, like we know Chris Evans is supposed to be leaving the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so the writers find a way to quote-unquote retire him, either permanently or at least until Secret Wars comes. Hopefully they'll find a way to bring Cap back for Secret Wars, or they just straight up kill him off. But because Robert Downey Jr. is supposed to continue in the role of Iron Man, but he's not going to physically be in as many scenes, they have to use him during the movie without completely spoiling what happens in Avengers 4. So they're probably going to wait till the very, very last minute to do any kind of Robert Downey Jr. scenes just to prevent spoilers. Then when they actually get to that scene, they'll do it behind closed doors, where like only a couple people know what's going on. Because remember, this new Spider-Man movie will come out just a couple months after Avengers 4, meaning that they won't be done finishing the movie till about the time we're sitting down watching Avengers 4 in theaters. So don't be surprised if you hear reports about Robert Downey Jr. just like quietly shooting a very small Spider-Man Far From Home scene really late next spring. So this subplot with Happy Hogan, Stark Tech, Pepper Potts, Maria Hill, Nick Fury, and S.H.I.E.L.D., this gives you an idea for how they're going to invoke Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man during Phase 4. So like during Spider-Man Homecoming, you know how Stark Tech and the Avengers were such a big part of the plot, but there was very, very little actual physical Tony Stark on set. So think of them doing more of that, where you see him become a really big part of the story without actually physically being present that much. But part of the big reason for bringing the Vulture back in this movie, because Michael Keaton is awesome, so they wanted to try and bring him back if they could, but he's locked up in prison. The whole idea that Matt Gargan's Scorpion says that he has a group of friends that want to kill Spider-Man, but I think the even more practical reason is because these other villains want to get their hands on special Stark Tech. Vulture has experience with Stark Tech because he almost successfully stole that entire heist full of Avengers-level weapons. So because his character isn't supposed to be a straight-up villain, he's more of like a gray area person, like he does Spider-Man the Solid for saving his life by not giving his name up. The other villains probably compel him to help them out on threat of killing his family, like a no honor amongst thieves situation. Like, you help us out, we'll help you get back to your family. If you don't help us out, we'll make sure something really bad happens to them. So I hope that if we eventually do get a genuine Spider-Man versus the Sinister Six physically on screen, then the Vulture is one of those people that's able to help him out and turn on the other villains. That would be a really badass way to send Michael Keaton out if they kill him off in whatever third film they do. So time for theory crafting. How do they invoke Robert Downey Jr. himself physically in this movie? Is he going to be a hologram? Is he going to be a voicemail that he leaves for Spider-Man? Or is he just going to show up on set one day and say, "Hey kid, what's going on? Good job saving my tech from the villains"? What'll happen is there was a brand new Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse trailer. I'll post that next. I have some new Spider-Man PS4. I'll do explainers for some of the big twists and turns later on, but I'm just giving people a chance to play the game a little. So we'll announce a new giveaway winner when I post that next Spider-Man video later today. That should be up in the next couple of hours. Click here to learn all about Captain America in Avengers 4, and click here to rewatch that Daredevil Season 3 trailer. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.